Welcome to Official History World, where history comes alive. Explore the events, empires, and people that shaped our world. Subscribe and be part of our journey through time.
What if Poland and Sweden remained in a personal union? First, for some historical context. In our timeline, Sweden and Poland were allies in the Livonian War. Later on, they were in a personal union under Sigismund IV Vasa. The problem was that Sigismund was a Catholic, ruling in the mostly Protestant Sweden, and while he did promise religious tolerance, he didn't keep his word. This led to a Swedish revolt led by his uncle, Karl IX, who was able to depose Sigismund and become the new king. Later on, the Commonwealth and Sweden had several devastating wars, which only led to the rise of Russia. But what if that was different? What if Poland and Sweden remained in a personal union? The first thing we need to change is Sigismund's religious tolerance issue. In our timeline, he was raised into a staunch Catholic due to his mother's involvement in his childhood. In this alternate timeline, he doesn't necessarily have to be Protestant, especially since that might complicate his election in Poland. But maybe if he had more Protestants in his inner circle and more involvement from his father John III in his upbringing, he might at least become more tolerant to Protestants. Another major point of contention was Livonia, split between the Commonwealth and Sweden, and especially Estonia, which Sigismund promised to both states, to the Commonwealth in the Pacta Conventa and to Sweden in the Statutes of Kalmar. The Pacta Conventa was something that Polish kings promised as rewards in exchange for their election, but we'll have to change Sigismund's Pacta Conventa to trade rights in Estonia and aid in wars against Russia and Denmark. This will prevent one of the major factors leading to Sigismund's deposition. Now, onto the scenario. So the first major event in this timeline is the Time of Troubles in Russia, also known as the Dimitriads, during which Poland took Moscow, and the Polish king, Vladislav IV Vasa, was briefly installed on the throne of Russia. But that is topic for another video. In this alternate timeline, if just Sweden and Poland remained in a union, Vladislav IV still loses the throne of Russia, but the Commonwealth and Sweden gain significant territories, just like in our timeline. The Commonwealth might also win the war with the Ottomans, gaining control of Moldavia. Now comes the first major roadblock in this timeline, the death of Sigismund III. It is possible that the Ottomans will fully invade the Commonwealth, seeing it as a greater threat, along with Russia in the Smolenskian War, but that's unlikely. But it is possible for the Ottomans to use the chaos to retake control over Moldavia, but Russia still loses the Smolenskian War, just like in our timeline, possibly resulting in even more territorial losses. But for the sake of the video, Vladislav IV doesn't gain the throne of Russia, since just like I said, that's a topic for another video. Sweden still gains territory from the 30 Years' War, since the Swedish nobility would likely pressure either Sigismund or Vladislav IV to join the war, although as a result it would be less territory. Another trend could be that Polish kings use their power base in Sweden to push through reforms such as a hereditary monarchy and weaken the nobility through removing such things as the liberum veto. Depending on whether or not this process is slow or more sudden, it's possible that it fuels resentment in the nobility, and after the death of the last Vasa king, they might double down on their power and elect a Piast king. But if this process is more gradual, like over a century, it's possible that they can maintain the union. As goes for the Khmelnytsky uprising, it's possible that Russia might still take their chance and aid the Cossacks, and while they might have some early success just like in our timeline, they would eventually lose and lose even more land. But here's where we hit another major roadblock in this timeline. Since the Vasa dynasty died out after the death of John II Casimir, so it's possible that the union might crumble, both states choosing their own candidates. But since this is a what if Poland and Sweden remained in a personal union video, we won't go on that route. Instead, it's possible that John II Casimir has an heir, not having to worry about the whole having your nation overrun thing. Or just a distant relative takes the throne, considering it's possible that the Commonwealth returned to being a hereditary monarchy. The next major event in this timeline is the Great Turkish War. It's still likely that the Commonwealth will help the Austrians in order to prevent them getting overrun by the Ottomans. This will result in the Commonwealth regaining Moldavia and Yedesan. And somewhere down the line, Sweden will gain Scania from Denmark-Norway. As goes for the Great Northern War, it probably just won't happen. Since it's unlikely that Russia and Denmark could defeat the Union alone, they likely won't try. The only possible scenario is if Russia, Denmark, Norway, and the Ottomans ally, which is extremely unlikely. But the union of the Commonwealth and Sweden will likely never fully unite and collapse after a couple of centuries, unless there is a powerful king who is able to unite both realms. But that concludes what if Sweden and Poland remained in a personal union. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Comment what scenario should I do next. Thank you for watching and goodbye.